The audience inside the Great Hall of Corinth watched in silence as Captain Elias Ward was escorted before the throne of the alien emperor. The air shimmered faintly from the atmospheric filters that kept humans alive inside this oxygen-thin world. His boots echoed against the polished obsidian floor, each step weighed with the ghosts of billions who had died in the human-Cerinthian War. Elias didn't flinch beneath the 1,000 alien eyes watching him. The last human to stand in this hall had been executed before dawn. The Corinth believed humans were dangerous, unpredictable, defiant, and incapable of surrender. They weren't wrong. The Emperor towered over his throne, flesh marked by bioluminescent veins pulsing faint blue through his dark carapace. His voice resonated like distant thunder. "Captain Elias Ward of Earth," he said, the translator humming between them. "Your name is written in the blood of my kin. And yet, you stand here alive." Elias straightened, his hands still bound. "You wanted peace," he said. "I came when you called." The Emperor rose slowly, each movement deliberate. "Peace," he echoed, as though tasting a bitter word. "Yes, I have no more worlds left to burn, no more soldiers left to command. And yet, you humans still live." A hollow silence filled the chamber. Elias knew what this was. This wasn't diplomacy. It was theater before execution. Then the Emperor gestured. From behind the throne, 2 attendants wheeled forward a metallic capsule. It hissed, releasing a mist that shimmered under the cold light. Symbols of warning flickered across its surface. Elias took a step back. "What is that?" The Emperor's expression didn't change. "A gift," he said, "for the last soldier who refused to kneel." The capsule trembled. Something inside it moved. Elias's jaw tightened. "You call this peace? I call it balance," the Emperor replied. "You once unleashed weapons that burn my oceans. I return to you one forged for my own people. Keep it or destroy it, it matters not. But hear this, human. What sleeps within carries the power to end your kind again." The hall lights dimmed as the capsule cracked open. A faint hiss escaped, and for a heartbeat, Elias thought it was empty. Then a shape unfurled from the mist. She looked human. Almost. Silver skin gleamed like moonlight. Blue veins glowed faintly beneath the surface, and her hair shimmered white, as though made of liquid light. Her eyes were the worst part, too bright, too aware. She stood barefoot, trembling, her gaze darting between Elias and the Emperor. "Who is she?" Elias demanded. The Emperor turned his head slightly, watching her with something like pity. "My final peace offering," he said. "She is what your kind feared most, and what mine could not control. A living weapon, designed to obey, trained to kill, but broken beyond repair. I give her to you as a symbol. Keep her alive, and perhaps our war finally dies." Elias stared at the creature. She didn't move, didn't breathe, until her chest suddenly rose, sharp and panicked, like someone remembering how. Her voice came out soft, trembling. "Please," she said, "don't." The Emperor raised a hand, silencing her instantly. "Take her, human," he said, "and leave before I decide I've changed my mind." The guards approached. Elias hesitated, then reached out. Her skin was cold, almost metallic, but when their hands touched, she looked at him with a flicker of something that felt horribly familiar. Fear. Outside the hall, the alien sun was setting, a vast crimson sphere sinking into the horizon of glass dunes. A shuttle awaited him, its human pilot uneasy at the sight of his companion. "What the hell is that thing, Captain?" the pilot asked. Elias didn't answer. He could still feel the Emperor's words echoing in his skull. "Keep her alive." The shuttle lifted off. The alien capital shrank beneath them. The girl sat silently, staring at her reflection in the window, as though unsure what she was. Elias finally spoke. "Do you have a name?" She didn't look at him. "They call me Subject 9. "That's not a name," Elias said quietly. Her eyes flickered toward him, metallic blue and haunting. "Then give me one." He hesitated. "Nova," he said at last. "You look like something born from a dying star." For the first time, she smiled barely. "Nova," she whispered, like testing the word's weight. The shuttle pierced the atmosphere, stars unfolding before them. Elias leaned back, mind spinning. This wasn't peace. It was something far stranger. A gift that felt like a curse. The hum of the engines was the only sound until Nova spoke again, her voice low enough that only he could hear. "Captain," she said softly, "don't let them make me kill again." Elias turned sharply toward her, his pulse freezing. "Who?" he demanded. But Nova only looked down at her hands, faint light pulsing beneath her skin like living circuitry. Outside, the void swallowed the shuttle whole, and for the first time in years, Elias felt the old chill of fear, not for himself, but for whatever followed them home. The hum of the Vanguard filled the air like a living pulse, deep, constant, mechanical. Captain Elias Ward stood in the observation bay, hands folded behind his back, staring through the reinforced glass at the containment chamber below. Inside, under sterile white lights, sat the alien girl. Leary, the scientist called her now, not Nova, as he named her. The Fleet Intelligence Division preferred things labeled, cataloged, controlled. She sat cross-legged on the metallic floor, eyes closed, a strand of silver-white hair falling over her face. Around her, the air shimmered faintly with static, the only sign of the power that had once leveled entire platoons of soldiers. A soft voice broke his thoughts. "Captain Ward," said Commander Rhee, head of the research division, "you're not authorized down here during containment cycle." Elias didn't turn. "She's not a containment issue. She's a person." Rhee gave a thin, unimpressed smile. "She's an engineered bioweapon, Captain, and one that could vaporize this deck if her heart rate spikes too high." She handed him a datapad, scrolling through bioscans. Energy readings equivalent to a Starship reactor core. Neural activity inconsistent with any known species. The Emperor said she was designed to mimic emotional responses, perhaps to infiltrate human lines. "Don't let her appearance fool you." Elias stared down at Leary again. She was humming, just faintly, a broken, uncertain sound, almost like a lullaby. "She's not pretending," he said. "She's remembering." Remembering what? Elias didn't answer. He wasn't sure himself. Later, when the scientists left and the lights dimmed to cycle night, Elias entered the chamber. The guards protested, but he ignored them. The door sealed behind him with a heavy hiss. Leary looked up, startled. The glow under her skin faded as her eyes found his face. "They don't like me," she said quietly. "They don't understand you," Elias replied. Her gaze dropped to the floor. "They're afraid." He crouched beside her. "They have reason to be. You nearly overloaded their instruments by breathing." She laughed softly, a sound so fragile it hurt to hear. "Then maybe I should stop breathing." "Don't joke like that," he said, but there was a softness in his tone. Leary tilted her head, studying him. "You don't look at me like they do." "Because I've seen worse things than you," Elias said. "And because you remind me of someone I used to know." Her eyes flickered with curiosity, but before she could ask, a faint melody drifted through the intercom. One of the human engineers had left the ship's internal music channel playing. It was an old Earth song, soft and slow, filled with violins and longing. Leary froze. Her pupils widened. Then something extraordinary happened. The faint glow beneath her skin brightened, pulsing in rhythm with the music. Elias stood, watching in stunned silence. "Leary," she turned toward him, eyes shining like liquid silver. "I can feel it," she whispered. "The sound, it feels warm." He watched her reach toward the speaker, trembling. The light danced across her skin like sunlight through water. "Do you know what that is?" he asked. She shook her head, tears threatening to spill. "It's beautiful." Elias didn't tell her that the song was written centuries ago by a soldier who died before Earth even knew of the stars. He didn't tell her that beauty and pain were often the same thing. But he saw something new in her then, not programming, not protocol, but wonder. Over the next few days, he visited often. He brought simple things, a blanket, a holographic candle, even a small stuffed animal someone had made from spare uniform fabric. He wasn't sure why. Maybe to make her feel less like a prisoner. Maybe to make himself feel less like a warden. When he laughed at something she said, her glow brightened. When she laughed, the ship's sensors registered faint magnetic disturbances. Rhee called them dangerous fluctuations. Elias called them proof she's alive. But not everyone saw it that way. On the fifth night, while Elias was in a debriefing, 3 young soldiers decided to test the weapon. They slipped into the observation deck, jeering at her through the glass. "Hey, monster," one of them said, tapping the barrier. "Show us your tricks." Leary didn't respond. "Come on," another said. "Burn something. Isn't that what you're made for?" She curled in on herself, trembling. Her glow dimmed. The first soldier smirked. "Guess she's broken." They didn't see the flicker in her pulse readings, the soft hum in the walls. By the time the alarms blared, Elias was already running. When he reached the chamber, the steel around the observation bay had begun to melt. The air was thick with ozone and light, raw, burning light, pouring from Leary's body as she screamed soundlessly. Hands clutched her head. The soldiers were on the floor, alive but stunned, their armor smoking. "Leary!" Elias shouted, forcing his way through the heat. "Leary, look at me." She did, and for an instant he saw it. Not rage, not hate, grief. "I didn't mean to," she sobbed, voice echoing through the metal. "I didn't want to." The glow intensified, and the containment alarms went wild. Elias didn't think. He reached her, grabbed her shoulders, ignoring the searing heat that burned through his sleeves. "Leary, listen to me. You're safe. You don't have to fight anymore." Her breathing hitched, desperate. "They laughed at me. They said I wasn't real." "You are real," he said fiercely. "You're alive, and that means you get to choose what you are." For a heartbeat, the energy in the air trembled, unstable, flickering between destruction and control. Then slowly it faded. The lights dimmed. The floor cooled. Leary collapsed against him, trembling. Her skin still shimmered faintly, like embers dying out. Elias held her, ignoring the pain in his hands. Around them, the containment crew burst into the room, weapons drawn, but he barked, "Stand down." They hesitated. One look at Leary's tear-streaked face was enough. She looked up at Elias then, voice cracking. "I didn't want to hurt them again." The words hit him like a blade. "Again," he whispered. Her eyes filled with tears. "That's what they made me for." And somewhere deep in the ship, the Emperor's warning echoed once more in his memory. Keep her alive. But now Elias understood that the real question wasn't whether she could destroy them. It was whether anyone could save her from what she'd already done. The med bay smelled of cold steel and antiseptic, the scent of secrets. Leary lay unconscious on the scanning table, wires trailing from her temples and chest, a faint blue light pulsing through the veins beneath her silver skin. Elias stood behind the observation glass, jaw tight, as the monitors danced with incomprehensible readings. Commander Ree didn't look up from her console. "You wanted the truth, Captain. Here it is." On the screen, a 3D projection of Leary's anatomy rotated slowly. At her core, beneath layers of tissue and bone, a radiant mass flickered. Not an organ, but a mechanism. A heart of light. Ree zoomed in, voice clinical. "We ran full-spectrum scans. That," she pointed to the glow, "isn't biological. It's an energy lattice made of bioreactive material, something between plasma and neural matter. It's a reactor, Captain. She doesn't just have power. She is power." Elias frowned. "A power source?" "More than that," Ree said, her tone colder. "A sentient one. Every signal her brain sends regulates the reactor's stability. It's symbiotic. If she feels fear or pain, the output spikes. If she calms, it cools. Her emotions literally fuel the energy field." Elias stared at the glow, disbelief giving way to horror. "You're saying her heart is a weapon?" Ree shook her head. "No, it's an engine. We've been calling her kind heart engines. There were others, prototypes created during the war by both sides. The Emperor's forces perfected the process after capturing human soldiers." Something inside Elias went cold. Human soldiers? Ree tapped her tablet, bringing up an old image, grainy, archival, marked classified. It showed human prisoners strapped to alien machines, their chests glowing faintly. They used human DNA to stabilize their energy cores. Leary's human enough to pass scans, but engineered to obey specific neural codes. She was built from us. The silence that followed felt heavy enough to crush. Elias took a step back. "So she's not their creation. She's ours." Ree gave a small, grim nod. In a way, yes. The Emperor didn't hand you a peace offering, Captain. He handed you our sin. Elias' hands clenched at his sides. You're going to dissect her, aren't you? We're going to understand her, Ree said. And if that knowledge saves 1 billion lives, then yes, we'll do what's necessary. Her words echoed long after Elias left the medbay. Hours later, Lyria awoke in her quarters, alone. The lights were dim, and faint lines of energy pulsed beneath her skin like a heartbeat. She looked down at the faint bruises from the scans and whispered to the empty air, "Why do they keep looking inside me?" When the door opened, she flinched, but it was Elias. His uniform was unbuttoned, his face drawn. "They said it wouldn't hurt," she murmured. "They lied," he replied quietly. She looked at him, eyes wide, searching his face for something solid, something kind. "Why do they keep asking what I am? Don't they see?" She pressed her palm to her chest. "I'm alive." Elias stepped closer. "You are, and that's why I won't let them hurt you again." Lyria tilted her head, studying him. "You sound like him." "Who?" "The one before you," she whispered. "He said the same thing. Before he ordered the fire." Elias froze. "What fire?" She didn't answer. Her gaze had gone distant, haunted. "The one that turned my sky red." He didn't push her. Not yet. He just stayed there, beside her, until her trembling eased. But that night, Elias went digging, deep into the encrypted archives. It took hours of bypassing fleet security, but eventually he found it, a classified folder dated years before the war ended. Inside were reports stamped with a name that made his blood run cold. Project Heart Engine, human prototype trials. He scrolled through pages of notes. Human captives listed as viable energy hosts. Fusion experiments. Neural link grafts. Command codes designed to suppress emotion. One line stood out in red. Subject H-17, Lyria, successful stabilization. Unit exhibits compassion response inconsistent with control model. Terminated. But she wasn't terminated. The Emperor must have taken her, not as a trophy, but as a rescue. Elias leaned back in his chair, feeling the floor tilt beneath him. Humanity hadn't just fought monsters. It had made them. He downloaded the file onto a chip and slipped it into his pocket. But as he turned to leave, a soft sound froze him, a faint intake of breath. Lyria stood in the doorway. She had seen everything. Her expression was unreadable, part fear, part disbelief, part fury. "So it's true," she whispered. "That's why they stare at me. That's why you do." "Lyria, listen." "You knew," she said. Her voice trembled. "You knew what I am. I just found out. But you didn't tell me," she said. "You were going to hide it, just like they did." Elias took a step forward, hand raised. "No, I was trying to protect you." Her glow flickered violently. "Protect me? You're one of them. The ones who built the cages. The ones who made me a heart without a will." Elias' voice cracked. "Lyria, I'm not your enemy." Her eyes shimmered, bright and wet. "Then why does the air taste like betrayal?" The lights began to flicker. A low hum filled the room, deep and rising. The deck vibrated beneath their feet. "Lyria, stop, please." She took a step back, and the door behind her hissed open. "You wanted to keep me alive," she said, voice trembling. "But you never wanted me to be free. Don't do this. I won't let them cage me again." And with that, she vanished, a blur of light streaking down the corridor, alarms screaming in her wake. Elias ran after her, shouting her name. All he found were echoes and scorch marks. The walls glowed faintly blue where her hands had touched. By the time security arrived, she was gone, into the labyrinth of decks and maintenance shafts, somewhere between the heart of the ship and the stars outside. Commander Ree's voice came over the comm. "Captain Ward, your asset has escaped containment. Orders from High Command are clear. She is now classified as a hostile." Elias stood in the flickering corridor, staring at the empty air where she had stood, her last words burning in his mind. "Then you're my enemy too." Red lights pulsed down the corridors like a heartbeat gone mad. The klaxons screamed containment breach, echoing through the metallic ribs of the command ship Aegis Dawn. Every door slammed shut. Marines swept through decks with rifles drawn, voices sharp and fearful. Target designation Leary, rogue bioentity, lethal class. Captain Elias Ward pushed past them, ignoring the shouts. His uniform was torn, streaked with oil and blood from running through sealed bulkheads. He knew every sound the ship made, every hum of the reactor. But now it sounded alive, wrong, as if the vessel itself was holding its breath. Captain Ward, stand down. Commander Ree's voice barked through the comm. This isn't your concern anymore. She's a containment threat. Orders are to terminate on sight. She's not a weapon, Elias growled, sprinting down the maintenance shaft. She's scared. You're compromised, Ree shot back. You bonded with it. The word had sent a chill through him. He killed the comm link and kept moving. Steam hissed from broken pipes. Emergency lights painted the world red. He followed faint traces of blue luminescence down the hall, smears of light on the walls where her hands had brushed. Every step closer, the air grew hotter, denser. Radiation levels climbed. The warning gauge on his wrist monitor blinked yellow, then orange. She was heading for the reactor bay. Of course she was. When he reached the lowest deck, the heat hit him like a wall. The reactor chamber loomed before him, a cathedral of machinery, its core glowing white-hot behind layers of containment glass. The sound was a deep, endless hum that vibrated in his bones. And there she was. Leary knelt before the containment field, her body faintly shimmering, eyes closed. Her glow had dimmed to a dull, flickering blue. Her hands were trembling against her chest, fingers digging into the skin over her heart. Leary, Elias shouted, rushing forward. She turned, and for an instant, she looked more ghost than girl, pale, trembling, exhausted. Her voice cracked when she spoke. Stay back, Elias. It's better this way. He froze. What are you doing? Her hands were wet, streaked with silver blood. Ending it, she whispered. If I tear the core free, the energy dies with me. No one can use it again. You'll die, he said, stepping closer. That's the point. She smiled weakly. You don't understand what I am. What they made me do. Elias shook his head. You think I don't? You couldn't. She looked up at him, eyes burning. They made me destroy entire cities, Elias. Children, people who looked like you. He knelt in front of her, grabbing her wrists gently. Listen to me. That wasn't your choice. It was theirs. Her glow flared brighter, the air vibrating. You don't get to say that. You don't know what it feels like to remember every face I burned. I do. His voice broke. Because I gave the order. Her hands stilled. Her eyes widened. What? Elias looked away, jaw trembling. When I was young, before the peace, I commanded the orbital bombardment of Theta Colony, the Emperor's outpost. They told me it was a weapons facility. They said it would end the war. Leary stared at him in silence. He continued, voice hollow. It wasn't. It was your planet, wasn't it? The one that burned. Her breathing quickened, light flickering wildly. I didn't know, Elias said quickly. Not until I saw what was left. I thought I was saving lives. But all I did was create you. The silence that followed was unbearable. Only the hum of the reactor filled the space. Leary looked down, her tears shimmering like molten light. You were the voice in the sky, she whispered. The one that gave the countdown. Elias nodded slowly. Yes. Her hand trembled against his chest. Not a strike, but a confession of pain. Then why save me now? Because I should have saved you then. She looked at him for a long moment, and something inside her broke. The fury drained out of her, replaced by something quieter, grief. Elias reached up, pressing his hand over hers. Her pulse was faint but steady. You don't have to die to end this, he said. You just have to live differently. Her light dimmed, then steadied. She leaned against him, shaking. I don't know how. We'll figure out together. For a few seconds, it felt like hope might be possible. The great reactor hummed softly, as though it too was holding its breath. And the intercom crackled to life. Attention, all personnel, Commander Ree's voice boomed. This is a fleet-wide order. Subject Leary is confirmed hostile. Termination protocol authorized. Captain Elias Ward is hereby relieved of command and charged with treason. All units apprehend or neutralize on sight. Elias went cold. Leary's eyes flicked to him, terrified. They're coming. Let them. He grabbed her hand and pulled her to her feet. We're not done yet. They'll kill you for helping me. He almost smiled. They've been trying to kill me for years. The deck vibrated as security squads stormed the lower levels, boots pounding metal. Elias drew his sidearm, a weapon that suddenly felt useless against what was coming. Leary's hand slipped into his. Elias, she whispered, I don't want to hurt anyone else. Then we run. The bulkhead behind them groaned as the lockdown engaged. The world narrowed to the blue glow of her skin, the red warning lights, and the sound of alarms echoing through the steel corridors. They moved together, not soldier and weapon anymore, but two broken pieces of the same war, running from a past neither could escape. And somewhere beyond the noise and chaos, the reactor pulsed, steady, alive, beating in time with hers. The containment chamber smelled of ozone and scorched metal. Leary sat restrained in the energy cradle, blue veins flickering faintly as if resisting the bonds. Elias paced outside the reinforced glass, fists clenched, mind racing. The alarms had faded into the background, leaving only the low hum of her pulsing heart. Suddenly, the room darkened. A shimmer appeared above the console, expanding until it formed a massive holographic figure, the Emperor himself. His carapace gleamed like obsidian under the artificial light, veins glowing faint blue. His eyes, impossibly bright, pierced through the chamber as if seeing into the very core of Elias's soul. You've done well to survive this far, Captain. The Emperor's voice echoed, resonating like distant thunder. And yet, so little you understand. Elias froze. What is this? What do you want? The Emperor's hologram gestured, and the chamber walls pulsed with light, showing the ruins of distant planets, burning cities, and forests stripped bare by war. You humans think your victories are your own. Your destruction, your suffering, your pride, all traced back to the same origin as my people. You, and we are not so different, Captain. Elias clenched his teeth. You mean we started this war because we're alike? More than alike, the Emperor said, voice calm yet heavy. We share blood, Captain. Once our species were one, until fear and pride split us apart. You see Leary here. She is proof, the last hybrid born of both worlds. She carries the bridge between you. Leary stiffened. Her glowing veins flickered as the hologram's gaze swept over her. Elias realized she had heard every word and understood. You gave her to me, he said slowly. Not to kill, but to test me. The Emperor's form tilted, shadows dancing across his features. Yes, to see if humanity could protect what it once destroyed. To see if your kind could care for life when the price is nothing less than their own fear. Elias's mind reeled. So, this was never peace, it was an experiment. Peace is not given, Captain, the Emperor said. It is earned, and some lessons must be learned through trial. Leary's glowing heart pulsed brighter. She lifted her gaze to Elias. Then all of this, all the pain, all the fear was for me. Elias approached the glass, voice low. Not just for you. For us. For everything we've done and failed to undo. The Emperor's hologram extended a hand toward Leary. You are not a weapon. You are a bridge. A choice. And now, the test is almost complete. Elias's stomach churned. What do you mean? The Emperor's voice softened. The fleet prepares to fire on my homeworld. You must choose. Will you let history repeat itself? Will you sacrifice her? Or will you rise above the sins of your kind? Leary's pulse quickened, energy flickering in sync with her fear and hope. She whispered, almost to herself, I was made to end worlds, but maybe I can save them too. The room vibrated with a distant roar. The fleet's cannons arched in the sky outside the viewport, a mass of weapons ready to strike the alien homeworld. Elias clenched his fists. No, not if I can stop it. Leary's glowing veins brightened, and the bonds restraining her sparked, threatening to tear apart. Captain, she said, voice trembling but strong, if I help, will you trust me? Elias met her eyes. I trust you with my life. For the first time, A genuine smile touched Leary's lips. Her energy pulsed violently, a heartbeat of light filling the chamber. Sparks flew from the restraints, and for a moment, the hum of her heart matched the rhythm of the universe itself. The Emperor's hologram raised a clawed hand. Do not fail her, human. This is the culmination of millennia. Do not fail yourselves. And then, as suddenly as it appeared, the hologram faded, leaving only the glowing girl, the trembling captain, and the distant roar of weapons poised to destroy everything. Elias leaned close, voice low, filled with determination. Then we stopped them, together. Leary's pulse surged, sending a shock wave through the chamber. Her heart, her very core, began to glow with unrestrained energy, illuminating the room, painting their faces in shades of silver and blue. I won't let them take us, she whispered. Elias placed a hand over hers, feeling the warmth of her power, a strange, living energy that both terrified and awed him. Then let's show them what humanity can do when it chooses to protect, not destroy. The fleet outside began its approach, the weapons targeting systems locked in on the alien planet. The countdown ticked away, a threat hanging over both their heads. Leary's glow pulsed faster, her heart sinking with Elias's own. Together, they formed a rhythm, a singular heartbeat echoing across the chamber, a signal of resistance, hope, and something humanity hadn't felt in a long time: redemption. And somewhere deep inside, beneath the fury of past wars and the weight of impossible choice, Elias realized the truth. The last hybrid was not a weapon. She was the future. The Aegis Dawn shuddered like a living beast as Leary's energy surged. Her body shimmered, veins of silver and blue pulsing in sync with the ship's core, sending tremors through the metal floor. The hum of the engines merged with the thrum of her heart, creating a symphony of power that filled every deck. Elias Ward ran through the reactor bay, heart hammering. Each step brought him closer to a sight both beautiful and terrifying. Leary, standing at the center of the chamber, her glowing form casting long, flickering shadows against the walls. Sparks danced around her as the containment field struggled to contain her energy. "Leary," he shouted, voice cracking over the roaring hum. "You have to stop. If you overload, the whole ship will collapse." She turned, eyes bright with defiance and something else: exhaustion. "I'm done being their weapon, Elias. Done being a tool for war. If this ends at all, I'll decide how." He swallowed the lump in his throat, stepping closer despite the heat radiating from her. "You're more than that. You're not just a reactor. You're alive. You can choose to save, not destroy. You're a bridge." She hesitated, her glowing veins flickering, the light casting their faces in shades of silver and cobalt. "A bridge between worlds that want me dead?" "Yes," he said firmly. "You can show them we're not the monsters they believe. That even after all the destruction, humanity can still care." Leary's pulse surged violently, sending arcs of energy across the floor. Lights flickered, warning alarms screamed. The deck beneath them groaned. "I can't stop them from firing, Elias. Not unless I... Then let me help," he said, grabbing her hand. Warm, human warmth met her radiant glow. "Together, we can reroute your pulse, send a signal into space. Both sides will see you're not a threat. You're the bridge." Her eyes softened, and for a moment, the power trembled like water barely held in a glass. "You trust me? I trust you with everything," he said, squeezing her hand. The hum of the ship rose to a deafening roar. Sparks flew from the consoles. Crew members scrambled, screaming over the intercom, begging for evacuation. But Elias didn't leave her side. He guided her to the control interface, his fingers brushing hers as she extended her energy. Together, they redirected the pulse outward. Energy flowed from Leary's core, spiraling through conduits, merging with the ship's systems. The glow became blinding, a beacon piercing the void of space, a message of peace, of hope, of life. Outside the viewport, the fleet halted. Weapons that had been locked on the alien homeworld froze mid-targeting. Across the void, the alien civilization saw the radiant signal, pulsing with intent and compassion, not aggression. "It's working," Elias whispered, awestruck. "You're doing it." Leary's body trembled violently, veins glowing brighter, almost white-hot. I can feel everything. Their fear, their hope, it's too much. I can't." "Yes, you can," Elias said, his voice steady. "Lean on me. You don't have to carry it alone." Her eyes met his, shimmering with tears and light. Then, together, the pulse erupted outward, rippling through space in concentric waves of radiant energy. The stars themselves seemed to bend, absorbing the light as it spread, touching human and alien alike. Across fleets, systems deactivated, weapons cooled, and alarms ceased. The message was clear: ceasefire. But the power came at a price. Leary's body convulsed, energy spilling uncontrollably. Her glow intensified to blinding brilliance. Sparks shot across the deck, machinery groaning under the strain. "Leary," Elias shouted, grabbing her arms. "Hold on. I can't stop it. I'm too much," she gasped. I'm sorry." "You're not sorry," Elias cried. "You're a hero. You're saving millions." Her glowing form softened slightly as she fell against him. Elias caught her, cradling her body as the pulse continued outward into space. The ship's hull trembled violently. Lights flickered and died. The floor beneath him cracked, but he held her close, whispering, "It's okay, it's okay. You did it." The beacon reached across both fleets. The alien and human forces witnessed the sacrifice, understanding at last that the child of two worlds wasn't a weapon. She was proof that coexistence was possible. Leary's glow began to fade, pulsing weaker with each heartbeat. "Elias." She whispered, voice barely audible over the dying hum. "You saved them all," he said, tears streaming down his face. "You saved us." Her hand twitched in his. "Then maybe I did choose." Her words drifted into silence as the light dimmed completely. Elias held her tightly, rocking slightly as the reactor bay fell into darkness, only the faint emergency lights revealing the devastation around them. Sparks sputtered from broken panels. Smoke filled the room. Her body was motionless now. The pulse had faded. The beacon had succeeded. Humanity and the alien civilization had been spared, if only by seconds, by courage, by sacrifice. Elias whispered against her silver hair, voice trembling. "You're more than a weapon. You're more than the war. You're alive in my heart always." Outside the viewport, the stars seemed to shine a little brighter, reflecting the life she had given to countless worlds. And though her glow was gone, Elias felt it. The heartbeat of two worlds now beating within a single soul. Silence. It was a strange silence, heavier than any alarm or explosion. The hum of the ship, the pulse of engines, even the distant stars seemed to pause. Elias floated among the wreckage of the Aegis Dawn, the metal skeleton of the once mighty command ship groaning in slow protest. Sparks flickered intermittently, casting long shadows across twisted corridors. He tried to move, but his body felt weightless, as if the universe itself had chosen to suspend him in time. Pain radiated from his side, a deep, searing reminder of the reactor's overload. Yet it felt distant, almost unreal compared to the enormity of what had just happened. Through the smoke and rubble, he heard the faint crackle of communications. Voices. Human voices, alien voices, a chorus of awe and relief. Confirmed ceasefire, no casualties reported. Leary's energy pulse stabilized both fleets. Unprecedented humanity. Aliens, peace talks initiated. Elias blinked. His vision cleared slowly, revealing the recovery chamber of a nearby medical vessel. Soft lights glowed, illuminating the pristine interior in stark contrast to the chaos outside. He was alive. Somehow alive. The medics moved quickly around him, monitoring vitals and scanning for radiation exposure. But despite the efficiency, His mind drifted elsewhere to her. Leary, her sacrifice, her light, her heart that had pulsed across the void and stopped the unthinkable. He lifted a trembling hand, expecting nothing, but instead felt a faint warmth. A silver fragment rested in his palm, a shard of her essence, pulsating gently. Its rhythm was unmistakable. Her heart. Elias held it close, closing his eyes as a flood of memories washed over him. The first moment he saw her, trembling in the Emperor's capsule. The first touch of her hand in the reactor bay, glowing faint blue. The desperate, heart-wrenching pulse that had saved millions across 2 species. Her final whisper as the light faded. "I won't let them take us." A soft warmth spread from the fragment into his veins, threading through his body, synchronizing with his heartbeat. He gasped as the energy coursed through him, a living connection, unbroken. Then faintly a voice, soft, melodic, unmistakably hers, echoed in his mind. "You kept me alive, Elias. Now let me keep you." He froze, the fragment's light growing brighter in response. It pulsed with life, hope, and an intimacy deeper than words could capture. He could feel her presence, not as a memory, not as a ghost, but as a living, breathing force intertwined with his own essence. The medics noticed his reaction. "Captain Ward? Are you?" "Don't touch me," he whispered, eyes wide. It's her. She's still here." Outside the vessel, across the vast expanse of space, the fleets hung in stunned silence. Weapons once aimed at mutual annihilation now lowered, their crews shaken by the magnitude of what had just occurred. Humanity and aliens alike glimpsed the impossible, mercy, courage, and understanding radiating in a single pulse of light. On both sides, leaders initiated communications. The first words of dialogue were hesitant, almost fragile, yet they carried a weight no weapon ever could. Peace, born of sacrifice, began to take root. Elias sank into the recovery chair, holding the fragment close to his chest. It pulsed gently, rhythmically, like a heartbeat echoing through his own body. A bridge, a link between 2 worlds, now shared in him. "I'm here," the voice whispered again, soft but certain. "And I'll stay, Elias. Always." He closed his eyes, letting the warmth of her energy flow through him, filling the emptiness left by war, fear, and loss. For the first time in years, he allowed himself to feel peace. Not the peace of victory, nor the hollow peace of surrender, but a living, breathing, shared peace, a heartbeat connecting 2 species through one improbable, enduring light. And somewhere deep inside, among the fractures of his soul and the remnants of the shattered fleet, Elias understood the truth. Leary was no longer just a weapon, no longer just a hybrid, no longer simply a being of flesh and energy. She was hope incarnate. A single tear slid down his cheek. "Then, let's go home," he whispered, voice breaking with relief and awe. The silver fragment pulsed brighter in his palm, sending warmth through every fiber of his being. And as the fleets began to organize, as peace talks moved forward, as the universe seemed to breathe again, he realized that he was not alone. Her presence, luminous, alive, enduring, had stayed. The light that saved billions now lived inside him. And as he felt it sync with his own heartbeat, a promise lingered in the silence. "I will keep you, Elias, as you kept me." The stars outside the viewport gleamed in quiet acknowledgement, reflecting the pulse of 2 worlds forever entwined by courage, sacrifice, and an impossible love that had bridged the infinite expanse of space. For the first time, humanity understood that even in the darkest void, a single heartbeat, a single act of mercy, could illuminate an entire galaxy. And in that light, Elias smiled.